Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am excited. This is our first ever podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
As you know, I'm Tiffany. I'm the owner and publisher of Folsom City Lifestyle, and this is a super exciting new podcast for us. Our March issue was about home and decor, and I thought you would be the perfect first guest because that is what you do. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Well, my background has been, when I got out of high school, I went to the Army, and I spent some time in the Army. And when I got out of the Army, I didn't really want to find a job, so I found a real estate developer and followed him around in the early 80s. And followed him around for 2 years and learned what he did, and then I started doing my own projects.
Well, that's fun.
So this April will be my 40th year in the business.
Wow, that's impressive. I really loved when we met originally and I heard all of your stories from the Army through starting your business. What inspired you to get involved in developing?
I don't know if I was inspired to get involved in developing as much as I was inspired to find my own way. And that's how I found it. It was through real estate.
That's awesome. Can you share some sort of defining moment that kind of started all of that for you?
Having to eat.
Right.
Out of the Army, I needed a job.
There you go.
And I didn't really want to work for anybody. The Army is a little oppressive like that. So I had to figure out how to do it. And I just started with going to talk to real estate agents and fixing their fences and fixing leaky toilets. And then we hired people and then we expanded from there.
I love that. I love the determination and the will to just get it done. Do you have a project right now that you're working on that you were really excited about?
I have a couple projects. I have the End of Fourth, which is a 9-unit project in Land Park. We just finished an 8-unit project in Land Park. We have a bunch of ADUs going on around town. We have getting ready to start one in Folsom. We have one going on in Greenback. We have one going on in downtown Sacramento, one in Land Park, and one in Roseville.
Yeah, we'll dig into some of those in a minute, but you also have a couple of other businesses too. Permanent Eve Lighting.
Yeah, we have Firefly Lighting, which is a permanent Eve lighting company, and Landscape Lighting, where that's a pretty fun company.
That is fun. How'd you get started in that?
My wife told me I couldn't climb up on a ladder anymore and do Christmas lights, so I had to figure something out. And I researched, and I was going to develop my own product. Mm-hmm. And I found that there was another product on the market that was just as good as what I could build. So I started negotiating with them and got the rights to deal in California.
That's very cool. I love those around the holidays, but I also love those year round. So people can decorate for all kinds of things.
Yeah, and security. It's a huge thing for security. It integrates with Alexa and it integrates with Google Home. So, for example, when you drive up, it uses a geofence system, and you could drive up, and when you drive up, your house will light up like daylight.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is really good for security, so someone's not hiding in the bushes waiting to tackle you when you get out of your car.
Yeah, no one wants that.
Yeah, crime's getting crazy.
It really is. It's not so bad here in Folsom, but certainly we can all use as much security as we can get. What are some common misconceptions in your industry, in home developing or in ADUs? I know we'll dig into ADUs a little bit more in a minute, but are there any kind of common misconceptions that you come across?
I think the common misconception is anybody can do it. And I've spent 40 years honing my skill, and there's a lot of knowledge that goes into how stuff goes together and how you build stuff. And so I think just understanding the process. The real estate business is no longer a building business. It's a political game now. And everything's politics. Everything's wrapped up in politics. And so that was something that kind of shocked me, is you can't get anything done without politicians anymore.
Gotcha. And that's actually a nice segue, talking about politics. And you wrote a wonderful article for us in the March issue about ADUs and about some legislation that has been passed to help ADUs kind of get fast-tracked. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
California passed SB 9, and SB 9 was the Affordable Housing Act, I believe is what they called it, and it allows for 4 units on a single family or lot. So you could split your lot, put 2 ADUs on the back, another ADU on the front lot with your house, and end up with four dwelling units on the property. And it's specifically designed to help California's housing crisis. In the city of Sacramento alone, we are 65,000 housing units short, and we're going backwards every month because we aren't building anywhere near what we need to build to solve that problem. California is over 1.5 million housing units short. So housing is a huge issue in California. Not only affordability, but just regular housing stock. There's no inventory for people to buy.
Gotcha. And how does how do ADUs help with that? And kind of what are the trends you're seeing in general? And then maybe some specific to Folsom if you have any of that information.
Folsom hasn't written their SB 9 rules yet. So every city is supposed to write SB 9 rules and you have to apply for it and get involved. But it allows you to split your lot without any governmental interference. So as a matter of right now, you can split your lot and build units on it. One of the caveats is you have to remain on one of the lots for 3 years. It can't be in a hazard area like a flood zone or a fire zone. But just by allowing to do that, they've built over 100,000 units in California last 2 years just to solve that with ADUs. So they put 100,000, and it's not a lot when you look at we're 1.5 million units short, but it's something, and it's the ramp is going up. People are building more, people are learning more about them, and people are building more and more ADUs now.
Yeah, and I can clearly see the benefit to the community based on what you just said, but is there a benefit to the homeowner to add some to their property?
Well, it increases the value of the property. You start making income on your property because you get to rent the units. And in today's rent, we just did an ADU, a 1-bedroom ADU in South Land Park in Sacramento, and they're getting $2,300 a month for it.
Nice.
Rents are out of control in Sacramento County.
Yeah.
And we have rent control, but when you bring on new products, the rent prices are extraordinarily high.
Makes sense. So let's pretend that I am in the market for an ADU. I wish I had space on my property for one, but unfortunately I don't. How does it get started from, start to finish? I call you, I say, hey, I'm interested in this. Let's talk through that process.
First of all, most every house has a room for an ADU.
Oh.
We have ADUs, junior ADUs, attached ADUs, detached ADUs. So I'm doing one in Roseville right now where we're converting the garage into a separate living unit.
Oh, nice.
So if you have a garage that you aren't using, you could turn that into an ADU. So there's many different flavors of ADUs. They aren't just one house in your backyard. It's like I said, you could if you have a big game room, you could turn that into an ADU.
Gotcha. Can you share perhaps some examples of some successful ADUs that you've seen that you've been a part of?
In ADUs, I keep saying ADUs, but it stands for accessory dwelling unit. And I don't know about any excesses. I mean, we're building them and people are living in them and enjoying them and they're renting them and they're making income on them. It takes about 90 days to build one. Usually about 2 months to design it and get it approved by the city. Cities used to be very, very, very tough with building accessory units in your backyard and doing stuff with setbacks. And this clears the way, makes it very ministerial to get it done. No politics anymore. That SB 9 took care of all that. And the cities by the government, by the state, has been ordered to streamline this process. So they have to give these a priority and get them approved.
Interesting. Can you share some general cost information, just general range? I know that's going to run the gamut, right? Depending on if you want a standalone or something that's...
It is, and it depends on what you do. We're doing, for example, you could do an ADU for between $200 and $400 or $500 a foot. Depends on what you want. I have a client who's doing an ADU right now where the interior doors are $1,500 a piece, where a standard door that we put in regular ADUs runs about $300. So it really depends on the finishes you have. A standard box is going to run you about $200 to $225 a foot. And then whatever you add on the finish is going to increase that cost.
Who do you see is most likely to, kind of adopt the ADU? Is it someone who wants to move a teenager out onto their property, or a college student, or a family member, or just rent it out? What are you seeing as far as trends in that vein?
The biggest trend I'm seeing right now, and in nearly every ADU we're doing, is for the ability for the homeowner to age in place, so they have a caretaker home for the people to live there.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it is to age in place, also to bring your parents. So when they're old and they need help, you could bring them onto your property and they're right there with you, yet you still have your own separate spaces. So that's a big trend now, is bringing your in-laws or building it so you could age in place.
I love that. I can also see it for college students when they come home and they want a place to stay.
Yeah, exactly.
I see it for, au pairs, if someone has, permanent childcare, that type of thing.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's huge.
It is.
That's fantastic.
And it's always uncomfortable when you hire live-in help to have them live in your house, because you live your way, and if you want to walk around in your underpants, you should be able to walk around in your underpants.
Right.
You just can't do that anymore.
Well, and they want to do the same thing too. They want their own private,
their own
private space.
And although it's in the backyard, it's still private. They have curtains, they have doors, fences you walk through, and you could do what you do. But they're close. If they're family members, they're close. You could keep an eye on them and make sure they're cared for.
I love that. What else can you share? What else haven't I asked you that maybe might be helpful for our readers to know about?
It's a very simple process. We come out, we look at the project, we do an analysis of your land, we decide what fits where, what's the best way to do it, and then we go to plans. And the plan process is very simple. We handle everything from design to final inspection. So it's a very simple process. Like I said, we show up, we do some site surveys, we do the plans. That takes about 30 to 40 days. Then we submit them to the city. That takes another 30 to 45 days. So within 2 months to 3 months, you're under construction. And in a whole period of 5 to 6 months, you're ready to have somebody move into it.
That's wonderful. What about the rest of Michael Moser development and, just general home development, home remodeling? Any cool updates to share with us? Anything we should know here in Folsom?
We have done every project from high rises to mid rises to podium structures. One of the coolest projects I did was on the Sacramento River. Between Virgin Sturgeon and Chevy's, there's a string of 18 condos there. And we did that project. And it was funny because when we walked into the Army Corps of Engineers, they looked at me and they kind of chuckled and said, "You're the fourth guy who's tried to do this project, and we aren't going to approve it."
Oh.
So that was a challenge. And it took us almost 4 years. But when we were all done, the Army Corps of Engineers approved our project.
That's awesome. What do you attribute that to?
I attribute it to A, my political connections, and B, my determination to get stuff done. I don't think that I understand what can't be done means. If it's there and it's real estate, it can be done. You just have to find a way to get it done. And there's more than one way to get things done. Always people say there's always more ways than one to skin a cat.
Yeah.
But there isn't. There's just one way. You just grab the cat and rip the skin off of it. So there's really only one way to do that. But when it comes to real estate, there's a whole bunch of ways.
Yeah.
And the other misnomer that everybody says is location, location, location is the 3 rules of real estate. And if you believe the 3 rules of real estate are location, 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 you're going to lose every single time. Because the 3 rules of real estate are actually location, demographics, and timing. The adage that you can pick a location, build something, and sell it, and that's the only thing you have to worry about, is a little insane. You need to make sure your location's right, your demographics are what you're building for, and your timing is right. And if all 3 of those aren't in line, you are not going to have a successful project.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, 40 years of experience for you, what's next? I mean, I feel like you're always reinventing and adding to your portfolio and kind of growing. What do you see as the future for you?
I don't know. I've done several different branches off in my career. I started a very large cellular phone company in the early or mid 90s, Frontier Cellular Communications, and built that to a very large footprint. And then AT&T bought that from us. And then we got involved in Indian gaming. So we were very involved in Indian gaming and moving slot machines into the state prior to Prop 1 that legalized it.
I love those stories.
So we were very involved at that. We were involved in developing player tracking for slot machines. We were the first people to do that. So I don't know what the future holds right now. We're so busy with construction. That's about all I have to look at right now. I have an 11-year-old boy that keeps me busy. But yeah, I think we're doing a lot of traveling now that I didn't do before.
Awesome.
We went to Japan last year. We're going to Italy this year.
Impressive.
So
I've got some family going to Japan this year. So any tips you have, we'll take them.
Japan is fun, but they don't tip. And they look at you weird if you leave a tip. It's like, you left money on the table, sir. What is that for?
Interesting.
But they do not tip, and it's the other thing that's cool is I love dogs. I have little dogs, and I just love my dogs. But when you walk into a restaurant, it's nothing out of the ordinary to see a dog sitting in a chair with his bowl on the table, eating with the people.
Really?
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Fascinating. I feel like we're getting that way here in Folsom. It's getting there.
Yeah, but it's just it was just kind of weird to see the dog was sitting on a little doily,
table.
sitting at the table with his bowl with a placemat, eating with the people.
Yeah,
And the dogs were very well behaved. It's pretty cool watching scene.
that is cool. Where are you going in Italy?
We are going to Rome, Venice, and Florence.
A whole family trip? Just you and your wife?
Actually, me and my wife and her family.
Fun.
My wife, my son, and her family.
And how long are you going to be there?
We are going to be there for 10 days.
Where is your favorite place you've ever traveled?
When I was in the gaming business, I would typically do a 6-week trip every month. I'd go on the trip for 6 weeks. I'd come home for 2 weeks, and I'd go back again. And we would do Jakarta, Australia, South Africa, Brazil, Mexico, and then through a lot of the gaming states in the United States and come home. And those were fun trips. Sydney is really, really a cool. I attribute Sydney to what I would imagine Los Angeles was in 1950.
Oh, cool.
Very cool, very nice, very clean. Not a lot of graffiti. But I think I like Sydney. Sydney's a very cool town. We put games in Barbados too. Barbados is a cool island. I like Barbados a lot.
Yeah. That sounds like a very interesting experience bringing Indian gaming into the state of California.
It was an interesting experience. Law enforcement wasn't happy about it. The politicians weren't happy about it. The Indians loved us. But it's what they consider the gray market. It's not legal. It's not illegal. It's what nobody knows what to do. So you kind of do it until somebody decides what to do. And
fascinating.
And what they did was they passed Prop 1, which legalized it. And effectively that put us out of business because as soon as you legalize it, any large gaming company from Nevada could now do business in California. And under a gray market status, they couldn't. If they did business in a market that wasn't licensed, they would lose their Nevada gaming license. So it kept all the competition out of California. And as soon as they passed Proposition 1, that was the influx of all the Nevada money, and that's when you started seeing big casinos going up in California. Prior to that, everybody was just working in trailers and huts and tents and just trying to get games up and get people playing. But once that passed, it put us out of the game, but it did a lot of good things for the Indian communities.
That's great. I love all those stories. So yeah, well, what else can you share with us about your business? Anything we can look forward to here in Folsom? Hopefully we see your face around a lot more doing some ADU projects and other things, but
I think ADUs are the future for California's housing issue. Like I said, they're fast, they're quick, they bring in some nice revenue for the homeowner. Especially if you have a big lot and you're paying $3,000 or $4,000 a month for your house, and you could put 2 ADUs on the back side of it and bring in $55,000 or $6,000 a month. You know, all of a sudden your house is relatively paid off, and you're generating income.
Yep.
And For every 1,000 square feet, you increase your value on your home by about $100. So if you build 1,000 square feet, you're increasing your value on your home about $100,000.
That is a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And like I said, there's so many different combinations that people. I have a small lot. I have nothing to do. You go up.
Mm-hmm.
You can build up. We can go up to 3 stories.
Yeah, you'll have to check out my house and see what I can do.
Yeah, if you have a 2-story home, we can put a third story up. And,
love it.
And go up. You typically in the area have a 35 to a 40-foot height limit, which we can get 3 stories under.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who says I don't have enough space, you have enough space. You just have to look at it and figure out how the space is utilized. And everybody forgets about up. You have space up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Interested to know, who did you look up to as you were growing up? What role models did you have? What, business professionals did you look up to and kind of model your style after? I remember when I met you for the first time, you said to me, there's nothing I won't try once. And, in a business sense, obviously. And I was really impressed by that. Clearly, you're not someone who is risk averse. And I think it's served you very well. Are there people you looked up to help kind of make you into the business professional you are today?
There's a plethora of them. I grew up in the heart of the Silicon Valley. Apple, Steve Jobs was starting. Hewlett Packard was blowing up. All these .coms were blowing up. So it was really the place to be if you were looking to be entrepreneurial, and get tips. I don't think I had any single individual. I mean, I looked up to people like Warren Buffett. I looked up to people like Steve Jobs, who was very young in his career. But all those guys just have the opinion that if the only thing you can't do is the thing you don't try. Firefly Lighting is like I said, it's a cool company. We have permanent eave lighting. It gets hidden up under the eaves, so HOAs can't stop you from doing it. How I have my house set up is if somebody comes up and rings my doorbell or enters my property into the geofence when I'm not home, the house lights up.
Mm-hmm.
And if a certain amount of time they don't leave, the lights start going from red to blue, so it looks like the cops are coming.
Interesting.
And I had somebody that was on a video when he came out. I don't know what he was doing there, but he showed up on my front porch and he was walking around and looking around, and pretty soon the reds and blues started and he just ran. So it's really effective for doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Birthday parties, Super Bowls, Valentine's Day. I mean, make your house pink, make it green for St. Patrick's Day, red, white, and blue for 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Veterans Day.
Love that.
It's just a really versatile product. And a new product that just came out for us is a landscape product that does the same thing that the lights do. You can control each and every light individually.
Really?
So if you want the second light to be purple and the 19th light to be red and the 43rd light to be off, you can control each and every individual light. And you can do the same thing with landscape lights. We have pathway lights, spotlights, and bistro lights. And you control them just like that. You can make them any color you want and put them on so they move with Alexa, set up calendars so they turn on automatically and off. They're easily operated by an app on your phone. It's a cloud app, so you can control your lights wherever you are. So it's really a cool fixture for your home.
Yeah, it sounds a little complicated when you talk about all those options, but it seems like with the app and Alexa, it's pretty easy to operate.
Yeah, it sounds really complicated, but once it gets set up, it's very simple to operate, and it's very easy for you to program and set up your own stuff. Anything from having the lights chase each other to follow each other to blink like lightning, to twinkle, there's just an enormous possibilities you could do with this product.
Wonderful.
And the cool thing is HOAs can't stop you because it's invisible from the street. And it adds value to your home. It makes you very secure. One of my clients lived out off Lathrop, on an 50-acre walnut orchard, and his house was pitch black, and he had a little porch light. And every time his wife would come home after work in the winter when it gets dark, she was scared to death.
Mm-hmm.
And now when she pulls up. Her driveway is about a half a mile long. So when she pulls up to her driveway, everything lights up. And now she can see the house. She can see who's around it. She sees a clear path from her driveway to get to the front of the house. She doesn't worry that somebody's hiding in the bushes to attack her. It's a very comforting feeling for people to know that when you pull up, your house can be bright and you can see that you're safe.
Yeah. What does, can you give us a range on cost there? Again, I know everything's customizable and it depends on the size of the home, but what can people look at?
On an average, it runs about between $29 and $35 a foot, a lineal foot, to install.
Both the eave lighting and the landscape, or are those two different?
Landscape lighting runs, it's about, if you just throw it up, it's about $300 a light installed.
Okay. Yeah, I know it can be daunting to go to a property that large and, not have any lights on. So
yeah, it is. It's in this, like I said, it softens it and it does it automatically. You don't have to go home and worry about, where's my phone so we can turn the app on. It's just, you pull up, it just fires up. All this stuff is going to be displayed at the home show that's coming up in March 15th, I think, in Cal Expo.
Perfect.
And we'll be, I think, booth 225 at the home show.
Oh, there you go.
For ADUs and the lighting.
Excellent. We'll send people your way for sure.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you want to cover or share with us today? That was a lot of information. You're up to so much.
Yeah, no, I think that's about it. Like I said, the biggest thing is that it's a very simple process, and it's not daunting. It's not scary. The governments have been tasked to help you with it, so they can't gaslight you and make everything go slower. It has to be expedited, so it moves really quickly.
I love that. Well, if there's nothing else, it was a pleasure talking to you. I always love hearing your stories and what you're up to. Obviously, we're gonna follow along with you and see what you're up to next, because clearly everything you touch turns to gold. And we will send people your way at the home show, and hopefully we'll see you around Folsom a lot more.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.